You are listening to Season 2 of The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, the short and often daily podcast in which I chronicle my life and attempt to be a writer by writing daily. Sometimes. Hello, today is Wednesday the 8th of October 2025. October, not September like I said in the last podcast. And you're listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. And I'm not going to apologise again for not doing a podcast yesterday. Well, I am, because that's me. Sorry. My brain was all over the place. My sleeping was, I've been awake in the middle of the night and asleep during the day. And yesterday I spent the entire day feeling anxious and I got nothing done. I got nothing done that I needed to do that wasn't to do with writing. And I got nothing done that was to do with writing either. So I did sleep really well yesterday. And then I woke up about 5 a.m. today, but I'd slept really well up until that point, and that's fine. And I woke up and I had quite an early breakfast. I watched last night's Big Brother because I hadn't got around to watching it because I'd been tired. I am enjoying it this year. I think it's the best series they've done since it came back, actually. It's the one that feels most like proper Big Brother. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about Big Brother. Maybe I'll do a bonus podcast about Big Brother. I won't. And so at about, I think it was about 7:30, I kind of decided I need to do some writing. I did nothing yesterday. So I did a writing live stream. At that point, none of the people that normally watch me were awake. So there's a lady who usually watches from the States, but she gets up about 6 a.m. her time or earlier, but not like it had been about 2:30 in the morning when I started. So, so she wasn't there. And I think my New Zealand watcher was probably still at work when I started, or maybe not quite because it was 6:30. But anyway, so I just thought I'll do a couple of writing sprints and see if I can get a bit of this chapter done. And I ended up doing a 5-hour live stream. I got so into the writing that I think after the 25-minute writing sprints finished, on at least 2 or 3 occasions, I just kept going to finish the bit I was doing. And bizarre to say this out loud, but during that 5-hour live stream, I actually wrote all of chapter 14. And it came in at about 200 words, shy of 6,000 words. So it's the longest chapter I've written for this book so far, and written in the shortest amount of time. And I had to go to a writing group meeting, the one run by my fabulous local bookshop in town. And so it was due at 6 o'clock. And I thought, well, let's go into town early. Let's sit in the coffee shop and read what I'd written today, because it came out so quickly. I was thinking this is going to need an awful lot of editing. And you know what? Yeah, I made some small edits, a few little changes, tidied up things a bit. But in the main, I read it through and I'm like, wow, this works. This is exactly what I wanted to do with this bit of the story. As I said, we're starting to reach some important moments now. And also there were 2 scenes where things happen, and basically 2 different characters do the same thing, but one's in London, one's in Leicestershire. And I first told the one in Leicestershire, and then I told the one in London. And the one in London proved almost fatal, without going into details of which character and what they were doing, proved almost fatal to the character doing it. And then I suddenly realised, if I merely switched the scenes round so that we see the London one first and the near fatal consequences, there's then an added layer of jeopardy. I don't even have to change the text, but there's an added layer of jeopardy when the person tries it in Leicester, because we've just seen the awful thing that happened to the person who tried it in London. So that was a great moment, because it literally, I had to change almost nothing. I just had to switch the 2 scenes over, and suddenly the second scene was imbued with the jeopardy that it wasn't when it was the first scene. So that was great. And the other thing was, when I write, I know where the story starts, I know where the story ends, but I do sometimes have to play around a little bit to get to the end. And whilst I was editing chapter 14 today, everything fell into place. So all the little things that I hadn't quite worked out about how that character gets mentally from there to there, how they get physically from there to there, how they make this decision, how they do that, how that's revealed to them, it all fell into place. So if you kind of imagine the analogy that I'm on, I'm about 60% down the path now, along the path that leads from the start to the end of the book, but it was misty. So I knew which direction I needed to go in, but I couldn't see to the end of the path. The mist has now cleared. I know exactly what decisions have to be made by which characters and in which order to get them to the end. Now, bearing in mind that this book ends on a cliffhanger, it is continued directly in the third and final book in the trilogy, which is, as I say, going to be called Blank Canvas. But it gets me to that, effectively the midpoint in a long story, and I know exactly how it's got to get there, and I'm thrilled. So I've had an amazing writing day today. I'm so pleased, and hopefully tomorrow, because that chapter didn't require as much work as I thought it would, so hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to get that chapter signed off, which means I'll have written 11,000 words in 10 days, in 9 days, which is, again, brilliant place to be to hit 30,000 by the end of the month, because after the last couple of days where I haven't done very much, I was starting to wonder if that goal was going to be a little bit too stretching. I don't now think it is, providing I can have more days like today. Anyway, that's me done for today. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye-bye. You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. For more information about what I'm writing, go to linktr.ee/Richard Writes, capital R, capital W, where you can find details of my website and social media. I may see you there.